All right, folks, welcome back. We are just a few hours now after Bafta nominations have been out, and this is kind of a after I read them right away this morning, and then had to get up and go. I kind of have thought about it since. I'm like, well, I think these Bafta nominations, they helped in some ways, and they kind of confused us a little more in others as far as specific categories here. Otherwise, the biggest news probably out of BAFTA is Conclave continues to show its strength with 12 nominations. That led all films. That's what I had it down for. Emilia Perez, not far behind, 11 nominations for that one. Then you had The Brutalist with 9, Anora and Dune Part 2 both had 7, as did Wicked. Wicked also had 7. And after that, you had a few with some other odds and ends there. So we'll go ahead, we'll run down the categories, what I got right, what I got wrong, and stuff like that. And as far as it's, does this help or hurt any film's chances at the Oscars, of course, in those specific categories. Now that we have about 8 days, I feel like I'm on repeat here. Didn't we say that last time we were talking about the Oscars? It was like 8 days. It's 8 days again, but hopefully it remains at that level now. All right, so for Best Film, your nominees are A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and The Brutalist. So with these, 4 out of 5 on this one. I had my fifth one being The Substance. And The Substance overall, by the way, I had that one getting 7. It ended up with 5, so it didn't quite do as well as I was expecting it to. It still landed, actually, surprisingly, in a couple categories I did not have it down for, but it missed a few others. We'll get to those, obviously, as we go. But yeah, Complete Unknown, by the way, I did see Complete Unknown last night. We'll save my comments for that till the end here, but it continues to show that it's going to hang around here with a film nomination here too, which is, I did not think this one was going to score a film nomination. My alternates here were Wicked and Dune Part 2. I did list Complete Unknown. I guess I forgot I did. I thought I didn't have it down as even one of the alternates here for film. But yeah, this one, I don't think it's like, because of a nomination here in film, I don't think it automatically means like it's heading for like director nomination. It's not heading for like, 8, 9, 10 nominations, anything like that. It ended up with 6 nominations here at BAFTA, which is a really good haul for, biopic about American musicians and stuff here at BAFTA. They really did like this one. So good for them. Best Director, the 6 here are Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, Coraline Farge for The Substance, and Denis Villeneuve is the 6th slot here for Dune Part 2. So 5 out of 6 here for me. And yeah, the Pial Capadia thing and All We Imagine Is Light, which I had kind of hinted at as, if it's a movie that's kind of springing late, that could all of a sudden surprise us and get that director slot. I don't know. I think it really needed the BAFTA nomination in order to cement that. Otherwise, this is kind of the first spot for Denis to get back in for Best Director this year outside of Critics' Choice, which had, 8 nominations for Director. Obviously, we got to will it down to 5 when we get to the Oscars. So it's really a question of, can Denis stick around? Can he steal a spot away from someone else? And really, I think, again, at this rate, I have to triple check myself here, because Denis was not a nominee at the DGAs, right? No, he was not. They went with everyone that was there minus, that I just listed. Everyone there minus, who was it? Coraline did not get in, and then James Mangold took her spot instead. The other 4, Corbett, Berger, Baker, and Audiard, they all got DGA. And I feel pretty solid about those 4. It's just that 5th slot, which Coraline, it feels like it should be right. She is an international filmmaker, a female filmmaker. Not that that's everything, of course, with this branch, but, as we saw last year, getting another female nominee in with the director of Anatomy of a Fall. It does show, they once in a while, they're not afraid to do it, even if it is also an international director as well, which Audiard already kind of covers that. So you technically have 2 with Farge. So so I think that's probably going to be my 5. I don't really sense, like, even though, yes, A Complete Unknown again continues to do well, it even got in at the WGAs today, which with that one, too, with WGA, don't forget, there are a lot of writers and a lot of screenplays that are just not going to be eligible there because of the writer status with the Writers Guild. So take those nominations as you will. But yeah, I don't think it's quite enough for Mangold to get over the hump. I think he wasn't even longlisted here by BAFTA, so I don't know. I think it's close. I mean, he is a filmmaker they're familiar with. He's gotten how many? Just the one? I think he's just got the one film in for Best Picture with Ford v Ferrari, because Walk the Line was not a picture nominee, as I recall. Yeah, so he's a filmmaker they're still familiar with, of course, and everything. Otherwise, Best British Film, we can talk about that one. The 10 selected here were Bird, Blitz, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Kneecap, Lee, Love Lies Bleeding, The Outrun, and Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. So with this category, I did not have Bird. I had Civil War in there. That didn't make it. And I feel like there was one other one I missed. Isn't that right? I had Kneecap in there. Hold on. I got to put them side by side here. Or was that it? Because I have Blitz, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Kneecap, Lee, Outrun, Wallace and Gromit. Oh, We Live in Time was my second one. That one missed for in favor of Love Lies Bleeding, which is one I kind of forgot about that one. That's the Kristen Stewart A24 one from like clear back in March. No, they picked that one instead. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I usually forget when we do these categories at the end. We kind of pick like, who based off the nominations today, which way are we leaning for who's going to win? I usually do that. I forgot about it on like the SAG video and stuff, but we'll try to do it here. Best Actor, we have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, Hugh Grant for Heretic, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Oh no, Daniel Craig. Oh, this is tough. This is really, really tough because he's been nominated by BAFTA before for like Casino Royale and stuff. Queer, even though it was only longlisted in the one category, he made it in for SAG, and Sebastian Stan did not. It felt like Sebastian, after the Globes and everything, he was starting to gain some momentum. He is in at BAFTA today, and it's really too bad, I think, for Daniel Craig. If he was going to miss, the one person he also needed to miss, I think, was Sebastian Stan. But Sebastian's here, as is Hugh Grant, and he is not. And yeah, he's the only one I had in that did not make it in, with Hugh Grant being my alternate there. So I was... 5 out of 6 I will take. But, boy, yeah, that, I don't know. Because, again, with Queer, the thing I'm worried about, I'm always worried about this and why I sometimes don't predict those lone acting nominees, is they sometimes really do struggle. And it's kind of a coin flip on whether or not it's going to be enough support for them to get in. And I just in, looking at it today and stuff, I've just been kind of going over it in my head. I'm like, okay, is The Apprentice, one that they're seeing? If it is, then it's likely that maybe Jeremy Strong would also get a nomination at the Oscars as well. Do we think that's going to happen? Are there enough slots with 5 nominees there? I don't know. It's one I'm still going over in my head. I'm just not sure exactly which way I'm going to go on it, but I think the other 4 are locked in. I feel like Fiennes, Domingo, Chalamet, and Adrian Brody, they're all in. I really would not think that any of them are going to miss. I think they're all in good shape, but it's, again, just that 5th slot. For actress, you have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Saoirse Ronan for The Outrun. So I got 5 out of the 6 here again. Kate Winslet was my one that I had in that did not make it. Instead, they go Saoirse. I don't really think Saoirse's gotten enough momentum here to carry herself back to the Oscars here. I think definitely The Outrun is definitely loved by the British and stuff. This was the one place where she was like almost, even though she started missing early and then has not really recovered since, this was still a spot where it's like, okay, she was in contention, so I had her, again, as an alternate here. So it's, obviously it's not a complete shock that they go with one, known kind of British actor or UK actor over another one. But yeah, I feel like, again, Demi Moore, Mikey Madison, Carla Sofia Gascon, and Cynthia Erivo all feel pretty good to me. It's just that 5th slot, which, again, Fernanda Torres, who was not longlisted here at BAFTA, you have to go against some really, 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 really good odds if you want to bet against her not making it in. Now, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, though, for Hard Truths, I think she's still lurking. She's still, the nomination here today really helped. If she had missed here, then I think, yeah, that would have definitely said, okay, well, we got to go with probably... with her, with Fernanda at the Oscars. Supporting actor. The 6 here are Yura Borisov for Honora, Kieran Culkin for Real Pain, Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. And all 6 of these were on my sheet, so not much crosstalk on this one. It's just going to, again, when we get to that, when the Oscars, they're, whittling this down to 5, and it's like, okay, do I want to stick with my weird, kooky Stanley Tucci theory about him missing everywhere, including missing here today, which I had down, and he makes it as, someone who's just not been nominated by a major affiliate beforehand. I'll see. I'll wait and see. I will wait and see. Actress in a supporting role. Here we go. This is still a tough category. Your nominees are Selena Gomez for Emilia Perez, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. So, boy, this category is just... When we get to the Oscars, put in Zoe and put in Ariana Grande. After that, it's open season. Because there is, I shit you not, there is like, let me count them again here, because I was, again, thinking about this today. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential other nominees, and even then, we could still see someone sneak back in. Like, Danielle Deadweiler is not someone I'm thinking of. She got a SAG nomination, though. And I think after that... I don't think there's anyone else on here that I really, think is like 100% going to make it. But yeah. So Margaret Qualley was the one I had down here who missed. I had Jamie Lee Curtis as an alternate though, so I will take 5 out of 6 here as well. Especially, this is a tough category, and yeah, this is going to be rough at the Oscars because now Jamie Lee is showing she can stick around. Selena Gomez getting back in here was huge. And I was, even if she had missed here, I was probably leaning on keeping her in anyways. It's just, God, who do we drop? Because we got to drop somebody here, because I think, we'll get back to this in a minute here, but after seeing the movie last night for A Complete Unknown, I think Monica Barbaro gets in. I think she's in, and I think with the strength of the movie, even though she wasn't longlisted here, if she had been longlisted, I probably, I don't know if I would have predicted her, but after seeing the movie, I would have been like, shit, I should have put her in, and maybe she would have gotten in if she was longlisted. God, this is tough, though. Do I drop Isabella Rossellini? I mean, again, when it comes to Age Before Beauty and stuff, they really do stick by that, though, when it comes to that stuff. So it's like, God, I don't know. But she's never been nominated before. But Conclave is also one that they're watching a lot. Does it have, the steam that something like Complete Unknown has right now? I don't know. That is a recency bias. I don't know. And if not her, do I drop Felicity Jones, who has missed a couple spots here? But again, The Brutalist is another one. We know they're watching it. And we know that it's, we know it's one that they're probably really going to like. I don't know. I just don't know. And then what about the substance? If that one is the kind of the cool, popular, or maybe not popular, but the cool kind of find it movie, and Margaret Qualley also being Hollywood royalty, even though she has missed a couple key spots here as of late, is she? I think she's still definitely within striking distance here. Jamie Lee Curtis, a past winner. Again, sometimes they go with those past winners. And again, The Last Showgirl getting the SAG support and stuff. And again, just coming into theaters here the last weekend and wider releases and stuff. This is one that the voters are now kind of catching up with. So that's also going to be a recency bias thing. Oh, my Lord. I don't know. I just don't know. This category. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. One thing I know for absolute certain with this category. If anyone, and I mean anyone, is out there and they're serious saying, I know the 5 and it's easy, tell them to fuck off and they're wrong. Because this is one of the hardest categories to predict in a while. Let me, God, I got to think about this really quick. When was the last time we had a race that was like this deep, where the bench went this deep as far as contenders who could make it in? I'm trying to think, like maybe a couple supporting actor categories here in recent years, maybe. Sometimes that category can be pretty full. Sometimes it's kind of short, though. Like, I remember the 2014 year. That was like the Foxcatcher year. We knew, let's see, it was Foxcatcher, Whiplash, like that year. we knew like Ed Norton, we knew J.K. Simmons, we knew Mark Ruffalo, Robert Duvall. It was like I forget who the fifth one was, but yeah, it was like that was like almost all five of them made it across the board everywhere. Like maybe one of them missed in one or two, but it was a very clear choice where they were going to go. I don't know. 2015, I remember being pretty rough. 2015 had a lot of different nominees for supporting actor. That was like Paul Dano for the Love and Mercy, and Michael Shannon was getting a few spots for 99 Homes. Let me think who else. Christian Bale was pretty solid for Big Short. He got in just about everywhere. Tom Hardy for The Revenant. He got in at the Oscars. I think he missed almost everything. But he was still like someone that, you know, even though he hadn't gotten in for a bunch of stuff, The Revenant was kind of on the uptick, so we knew it was kind of possible for that one to land a nomination, and sure as shit, he showed up on Oscars morning. I remember, I don't think I predicted him either. God, I remember that being a very tough year to figure out who was in and who was out for that category. That was a pretty deep bench for supporting actor that year. So this is also a pretty deep bench, because again, realistically, you've got the five I have in, 6, 7, 8. 8 solid contenders who have all gotten at least one or two, major bids through the year. So it's like, oh, I don't know. So BAFTA really did not help us here with these picks. So thank you, BAFTA, for, you know, keeping the Jamie Lee Curtis thing alive. And everything. And again, for myself, I know a lot of people probably would have ditched Selena Gomez if she had not made it in for Emilia Perez today. I was not going to. So, yeah. For everyone else, though, that was like certain that she was not going to make it. Now you have that. Now you have that. You've got that. I don't know what the hell. I've lost my train of thought. If you thought she was dead, then yeah, she's. You've got this roadblock to get over now. Okay, original screenplay next. We've got the nominees as A Real Pain, Anora, Kneecap, The Brutalist, and The Substance. So here I had 4 out of the 5. I had All We Imagine Is Light in there instead of Kneecap. Kneecap ended up doing pretty well today at BAFTA. It was I had it down for a couple nods in competitive categories that I'm like tracking and stuff. It ended up with 5 nominations across those same categories. That's not including what was it? Best debut by a British writer, director, or producer. It also got in for that. So Kneecap was a popular one today. So yeah, that was one I'd kind of wished. It's like, okay, it was kind of, if I had an open slot somewhere and Kneecap had longlisted, I probably, in retrospect, probably should have put it in. I would have gotten it right. But oh well. But yeah, as far as does this help us anywhere at the Oscars or anything? Not really. I mean, there wasn't anything that got in here today that would have really boosted, because I don't think Kneecap is going to go all the way to the Oscars. I think it's going to play an international feature and probably be done. So the other 4, I mean, they feel solid already, so this didn't really give us way too much. Adapted screenplay, your 5 here are A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. I think I was pretty close here. I had Dune Part 2 in for whatever reason. I thought it would do well and then kind of, get up to screenplay and then stop, but yeah, so that didn't get in. Instead, it was Sing Sing, which I was not confident Sing Sing was going to get the nomination here today, so that definitely helps it for its adapted screenplay bid. Which further, I think, helps keep it alive in Best Picture, and with All We Imagine Is Light not getting the screenplay nomination, not getting the director nomination, that kind of puts to bed my, kind of I don't want to call it too kooky theory, but it was kind of a growing theory that, like, maybe that could be one of the late bloomers that all of a sudden sneaks up on us and gets that surprise director nomination, pulls that Triangle of Sadness or Cold War type of bid in the directing race that really surprised us those years. But no, I don't think so. Otherwise, yeah, Nickel Boys, this was the only thing that was longlisted, and I had it down, so I was glad I got that one right. Yeah, so I think, realistically, I think it's these 5 at the Oscars as well. These are the 5 I have in at the Oscars as well. Next up is animated feature, Flow, Inside Out 2, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. I think most everyone who was predicting probably had those 4, unless you wanted to sub in something like maybe Despicable Me 4 if you wanted to feel gutsy and stuff, or if you just like the theory that sometimes BAFTA does go more populist than not. But no, I think these four, again, they're really locked in at the Oscars. I'd be shocked if any one of them did not get in. I think Memoir of a Snail becomes your fifth nominee at the Oscars. I don't really sense a lot of momentum for something like Moana 2 or even Despicable Me 4. Film not in the English language, we have All We Imagine Is Light, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Kneecap, and Seed of the Sacred Fig. That's a 5 for 5. All right, moving on. Best casting. This is going to be interesting. And this is one of the categories I struggle with the most here at BAFTA. And I don't know how I'm going to do next year at the Oscars with it for the first time. The nominees are Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Kneecap, and The Apprentice. I had a Complete Unknown, I had Conclave, and that's it. The other three I did not have. I had Anora and Kneecap as possible contenders. The Apprentice was like, no, I didn't even factor with me. So I only went 2 for 5 here. Yeah. But yeah, again, we'll see. We got to wait till next year before this has a bigger impact on the Oscar race, of course. For cinematography, your nominees are Conclave, The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, and Nosferatu. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've got them in a different order just because they alphabetized them a little bit differently than I did. Yeah, that's 5 for 5. So are these the 5 at the Oscars? I'm close. I'm close at the Oscars. I have Maria in place of Conclave right now. I think the other 4 I've got down, though. Yeah, the other 4 I have. And with Maria not really being longlisted anywhere here at BAFTA, it's just going to be, I'm just going to wait on the Cinematographers Guild, who I believe has not quite gotten their nominations out. I think that was one that maybe got pushed back. I just didn't, I'm not sure. Maybe it is scheduled to be later this week and it just never got pushed back. But it's a lot of confusion with that because, PGA pushed theirs back again. Obviously, Oscars did as well. So it's a lot of stuff running through my head, so I don't remember that one off the top of my head. But that's really going to be beneficial. If Maria gets in for the Cinematographers Guild, then I'm going to keep it. If Nickel Boys gets in for cinematography, then I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe that one does get in. Because I've been very suspicious of that one. I've been very dismissive of that one getting in just because it's not a known cinematographer. Even though, yes, it is the kind of point of view, camera view and stuff, I just don't know if that particular branch is going to love that or not. We'll see. Again, it's like director, it's a pretty insular, very insular branch. They really only want to give their nominations out to like known people, known cinematographers. They'll allow one or two newbies in each year, but that's about it. Costume design is up next. The 5 that got in, I'm trying to move so I can try to see them side by side here. The 5 are Complete Unknown, Blitz, Conclave, Nosferatu, and Wicked. And here I had Dune Part 2 getting in. That missed out, which is weird because I've been taking Dune Part 2 out of like production design. It's continued to get in there, but it's not getting in for costumes. So that's I might need to adjust that a little bit. Otherwise, the other 4 I had. I did not have Complete Unknown as like anywhere close here, which is weird because obviously, again, I'll comment on the movie later. But what really the costumes did not strike me at all in the movie. It was more the production design, which we'll talk about that later on here. Editing. The editing category, your nominees are Anora, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, and Kneecap. I had 4 out of these 5. I got Anora in there. I had Conclave, Dune Part 2, and Emilia Perez. It's Challengers was the one I had in here today that I thought really could land a spot. Instead, Challengers, Goose Egg. BAFTA did not find a place for it. So I had Kneecap as a possible alternate here. Complete Unknown, though, strangely, it's getting into a few of these different categories, but not editing. Which, at the Oscars, I'm not sure about its chances in editing either. That feels like a bit of a push right now. Because I feel like when we do get to the Oscars, it's probably these 4, and The Brutalist would be the 5th one. Brutalist, for some reason, is kind of missing on some of these precursors, but I have confidence it'll get in. It's, again, one that we know they're watching, and with such a long runtime and so much editing to do on the movie, I think the editor's branch will go ahead and put it in. Makeup and hairstyling, the nominees are Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. I had Beetlejuice getting in, and if I remember, that one also got a goose egg here today. Not great, but Beetlejuice, don't forget, is not one that did extremely well in international theater chains and stuff. It was really almost really close to like, what was it, 60% plus was coming from the U.S. box office. So, yeah, it's really rare we see that nowadays. Most of the time, the majority of your box office, 60% plus comes from international markets and not domestic. But this was an exception. And yeah, Beetlejuice, just ended up not being one that the British voters went for. I only had it down for, I think, just this one category. So yeah, that's ended up not being too bad a push. But yeah, Nosferatu, though, on the other hand, I had it down. Hold on, I have this later on, further down the list here. I had that getting 2 nominations here at BAFTA. It ended up with 5. So a really good showing for Nosferatu, and confidence that, yes, this thing probably not a player for Best Picture, probably not, a playing in the acting or screenplay categories, but several of those tech categories, though, are going to be in play for Nosferatu. I think it'll maybe not clean up, but it'll certainly be playing in those, and we need to keep an eye on that. Particularly the 2 design categories, I think it feels pretty good in right now. For score, the nominees are Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, and The Wild Robot. I was not really confident in The Wild Robot, so I had that one missing. And otherwise I put in Blitz and The Substance, so I got those 2 wrong. I did not have Nosferatu in there. I had it as an alternate, so my 2 alternates got in. That makes me feel slightly better, but anyways. Blitz was another one here. I was expecting it to get 5 nods. It only ended up with 3, and one of those, of course, is British film. The other 2 are, did we get to them yet? Costume design, and then the other one we will get to it in a later category here. So, yeah. I don't know. That makes me think, because I still have Hans Zimmer in for score at the Oscars. He did shortlist there, but I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know if that one's got a lot behind the particular score. So maybe it's something that gets in for costumes, and maybe it's other category here, which is Best Sound. We'll get to that one here in a couple minutes, but I don't know. I still feel like Blitz, I don't think it's going to goose egg at the Oscars. Not yet. That's not my prediction quite yet. If it had gotten, let's say, Blitz had only gotten, say, British film today, then I would have been like, okay, no, it's done. Because it got longlisted in, 6 or 7 categories. If it only had ended up with the 1 for British film, which is kind of a gimme since there's 10 nominees there, I was like, yep, yank it from anything you got. Like, nope, it's done. But now it's in that kind of question mark spot where it's like, okay, is it, and I'll remind myself here, the costume design is, let's not forget, it is Jacqueline Duran, who is a 9-time nominee and a 2-time winner. So, and that's at the Oscars. At BAFTA, including this nomination, she is now up to 11. 11, yes, and she's won 3 BAFTAs. So, God, I think, you got to put her in for that. Let me remind myself, what do I have right now for costume design? I think I did a little switcheroo here as of late. Yeah, I did. Sorry. Yep, I took out Maria was one I had. But, I think for myself, I'm going to put her back in for Blitz for costumes at least. I had Gladiator 2 also in there. Let me take that one out. Nosferatu, I think, is in. Dune Part 2 is in. Wicked is in. I had Beetlejuice. I'll stick with Beetlejuice, and I'll put Blitz in, and I'll keep those 5. How about that for now? So, yeah. Let's see here. Where were we? Production design. The nominees are Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, and Wicked. My 5 that I had down were, I had Blitz in instead of Nosferatu. I kind of did a weird thing there where I was like, I just feel like, because the one I was kind of questioning and was going to put Nosferatu in, and I replaced it with, the one I replaced it with was actually Dune Part 2, because I thought Conclave would get in. I thought that, and by the way, it is in for costume design too, right? Yeah, that's one, I'm not super confident in that one at the Oscars. It could get in, but I don't think it will. If it does, and it repeats everywhere it did today, it would end up with... is it exactly 11 nominations at the Oscars? I think so. Because you take out British film. Otherwise, the rest of them it can repeat in. Casting. Yeah, besides casting. So that would be 10 nominations if it repeats everywhere here. But it could still end up, without the costume design nomination, it could end up with 10 if Stanley Tucci gets in. We'll see. Anyways, but... and this one, this is going to be a tough category for me as well. because I have right now my 5 being Wicked, Brutalist, Nosferatu, Conclave, and Beetlejuice. And I kind of like that Beetlejuice prediction, just because it is real sets. You've got all the stuff going on there. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about that one. It did get in for its fantasy production design as well, so the guilds acknowledged it. This is tough. This is another one that's kind of tough to whittle it down to 5, because Gladiator 2, for example, that wasn't nominated here today at BAFTA, but it's definitely one that that I think is in contention for sure. Blitz could still stick around. The one I want to talk about, though, Complete Unknown. Complete Unknown, I thought, maybe had a shot, after, now having seen the movie. Now I'm like, ooh, maybe that one. Because right away at the beginning, you get those establishing shots that are, really set up what, life was like in the kind of grungy, downbeat parts of New York City in the early 60s and stuff. They kind of lead with that, and it's like it does leave a big impression early. So I'm like, man, even if the voters are not totally 100% on board with the movie, right away in that branch, they might be like, ooh, no, they did good work on that. I thought. But anyways, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for that movie, especially when we get to the final nominations there. The sound category is next. The ones I had here were, the ones that are in are Blitz, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, The Substance, and Wicked. So here I had Complete Unknown getting in. This is weird. How could it not get in for sound over here? This makes no sense. I think it gets in at the Oscars for the category, but Blitz I had in, yes. Dune Part 2 I had in, and I had Gladiator 2 as an also run, like a possible one, and The Substance was not one I had in. I had Emilia Perez in as well. And that's another one that's really weird, that they really like Emilia Perez. They even give it Selena Gomez, but they can't put it in for Best Sound? That's interesting. That's another one at the Oscars. I had Blitz in for a while there for sound, but I believe, yes, I took that out. I put in Gladiator 2, and I'm like, I think that could be the 5. Your other possible nominees are Blitz, Alien Romulus, Wild Robot, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Joker Folie à Deux, which Deadpool also has been doing well at the Sound Guild, so I think that one could climb back into competition as well. But it's just going to be if Gladiator 2 falls out. But this is one spot, though, that BAFTA, they didn't love Gladiator 2 a whole lot. Remind myself here. I had it Gladiator 2 getting 2 bids. It got 3, one of them being British film, and then it got in for sound, and the other one is coming up here in visual effects. So, boy, I just don't know. I don't know if that one stays or if that one goes. I don't know. And we know The Substance is not going to repeat. That one was not shortlisted by the Oscars. For visual effects, your 5 are Better Man, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. And this one I also do not think I have much crosstalk on. I had those 5 exactly. So there you go. Otherwise, I was going to ask, are there any... was there anyone here who really benefited from a great day at BAFTA? I would argue one point here, kind of harkening back to a couple videos ago now, when we were talking about Conclave hasn't missed a step yet. Conclave continues to not miss any steps. I really don't think this one, I don't think it's going to lead nominations whenever the Oscars are announced, but it's going to be it's probably one of the 2 or 3 most nominated films, though. I really like its chances in, like, directing. I think it gets at least 1 acting category, probably 2. Probably at least 2, whether it's supporting actor and lead actor, and then maybe Isabella Rossellini falls out, or if it's Isabella Rossellini and Ralph Fiennes, tongue-tied there, and then Tucci misses, it's probably got at least 2 there, right? Screenplay, it's good in. It's really just going to be if it can get in for cinematography, costume design, if it can hang around in the production design category. We know it's in for probably score. We know it's probably in for editing and for those 2 we know. So it's just going to be if it can continue that streak. Emilia Perez, I think, continues to show, even with possibly some backlash to it from some folks, it still has been pretty popular at the award shows. And in this case, this was one of the few places it did not lead nominations so far. SAG being the other one from these major precursors, but it does continue to show, yes, it is going to hang around. The Brutalist did pretty well here today. It's not really missing any major spots where it was like not long listed, editing it was not long listed in, so it's not really disappointing that it didn't get in there. I think the only one I had it in for that it missed. Let me remind myself here. Which one would that have been? Let me think. Did I have it in for costumes? 'Cause I'm trying to remember what I had it in for here. Hold on. If I search this way. I had it in for film. It made it. It's in for director. It's in for actor. It's in for the supporting races. It's in for screenplay. Right? It did make it for screenplay. Did I not read it off? Yeah, it's in for screenplay. Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure I read it there. The casting one. The casting was the one I had it in for. That's right. And that's, yeah, even that one, that's a weird category that we're still kind of figuring out, and the voters are still, kind of putting together. So we'll see on that one. Otherwise, I don't think really Brutalist, it didn't miss any other major categories that it really needed to have to stay strong. I would argue maybe The Substance suffered a little bit, just a tad. I still think it's a picture nominee. I still think Demi Moore's in. Coralie, I think, does get that fifth directing slot. Margaret Qualley is really questionable now for supporting actress, but then again, everybody who's not fucking Ariana Grande or Zoe Saldana is questionable in that category, so that just gets kind of a given anymore. Otherwise, I think really the nominations that I had it down for that I think it really could have used for support, other than obviously supporting actress. Let's see here. It got in for makeup, right? We named that one off. It did. Yep. It's in for makeup. I don't know if it needed the score category. It didn't. It did not long list for score, as I recall. Let me triple check my math on that. It did not. No. So yeah, that one actually didn't hurt it that badly. I kind of had it in as a wild card. So it's, I can't remember if it long listed for editing or not, but I don't know if editing is going to happen for the movie at the Oscars either, so we'll see. Maybe Blitz, again, it ended up with 3 nominations. I had it down for 5. That one's going to be shaky going forward, but I might just put it in for costumes and nothing else. It might be one of those type of movies. Anora, arguably, this one overperformed. I only had it down for 6. It got 7, with that 7th one being the casting nomination. Otherwise, everything else I had it down for, it made it in for. Let's see. The other major contenders here. Dune Part 2 got 1 shy of what I had. I had it out for director. It got in there. I had it in for screenplay. It missed there, so I'm trying to think what the other one was. Costume design. Yeah, that's right. We talked about that a little bit. Wicked, really close. I had this down for 8 nominations. It ended up with 7. And I think, if I remember again, that's that casting category. Yep, I had it in there because it got the SAG nomination, and it didn't repeat there. So that's about the only spot. And again, that one is not going to carry over to the Oscars. So if it gets everything else, though, I mean, we're talking, costume, production design, makeup, we're talking the sound category, visual effects, and the 2 acting categories, and picture probably at the Oscars too. So it's probably looking at 8 nominations at the Oscars. And I think those 8 are pretty solid. It could potentially sneak in for maybe 1 or 2 more with like cinematography maybe. And I don't think John M. Chu for director. No, I'm trying to think. What was... a screenplay, that's right, screenplay. It could maybe sneak in for screenplay, but I don't know. I'm not going to confidently predict that right now or anything. Otherwise, we mentioned, Nosferatu really kicking ass in some of these tech categories here at BAFTA today was a good sign for that film too. All right. Otherwise, A Complete Unknown I had getting 5 and ended up with 6. So that one for me overperformed a little bit, getting in for film, even though it missed the sound category, which again is weird. The only other one I think that I did not have it in for that it made it in for costume design, which I was not going to predict that one for costume design. Yeah. So as for the movie itself here, I try to keep it brief, but I walked away from this movie really, really mixed. I don't really think this is like one of my, admittedly, I am not a huge enthusiast of Bob Dylan. I don't know his discography by heart or anything. I can probably name a handful of his songs. I'm not really, kind of like the Beatles for me. It's just something that's really popular, but I just never fell in love with. And, Bob Dylan is not one of those, like, big artists for me that I, like, go cuckoo for or anything. And, from what I understand, and the biggest problem for me, and I know people are going to shout at me for this because they're like, it's the whole goddamn point of the movie. But yeah, it's hard to totally relate to the character. And I know that's intentionally done. I know when we look at real life stuff with him, it's intentional. It is intentional that you're not supposed to know everything about him. He doesn't want you to know everything about him, and all that. But the problem is when you have a narrative like this, especially when you get to like the book this is based off, which is Dylan Goes Electric, without spoiling way too much, the movie, especially when we get to the third act, finally kind of builds up to this kind of decision he has to make at one of the festivals he's at, like what set list he's going to play. Because if he plays one set list, it's the traditional folk, which the audiences are, most of the audiences are there for. But on the other hand, he can go more rock and roll, which is more electric. He can kind of, spice it up and go with newer stuff that he's passionate about as well. And yet he got there through folk and everything. And yet when that moment comes in the movie, it's really not like, we don't see him like agonizing over it. We don't see like, what are the consequences of him picking one over the other? Like what's, we don't really get that sense. So it was hard to relate to the movie and hard to like cheer on his choice at the end, what he does, without having that known, without having that really expressed very well. That's one place I think the screenplay and everything really does fall short. Speaking of which, I don't think this was a particularly great screenplay. I know it's starting to get in everywhere, and it probably will get in at the Oscars too. But outside of a few lines of dialogue, there's really not too much that's very memorable about the script. I know the script is more than just the dialogue, but it's like, I don't know. It goes through some of the pro passages that we're used to with biopics about, him rising to fame and then him getting the backlash of some of the fame and the relationships that he has that get ruined and the new ones that start and flame out, et cetera, et cetera. It's nothing we haven't seen in a dozen other musical biopics before. And it really those parts did not really excite me at all. Like the Elle Fanning character was really a completely forgettable character in this. Nothing against her. I think in particular, she gets one scene toward the end that really we do get to see her shine, and she does do really well. Otherwise, she gets like a couple argument scenes and a couple, romance, kind of get to know you scenes. And that's kind of it for her. She's really not in the movie as much as I thought she would be. Yeah. There's some criticisms for me. But as far as the stuff that I liked about it, though, man, again, right from the beginning, this movie really does give you a great sense of time and place in the early 60s in New York. It really does give you a sense of this is Kennedy in the White House, and it's the Cuban Missile Crisis. It goes through these events, obviously Kennedy's assassination and everything. And the rise of civil rights and everything. It goes through that, and it really does give you a nice sense of time and place. Particular the night of the Cuban Missile Crisis at its height and everything, when you had the president addressing the nation and stuff. That scene I thought was very well handled and very very effective, I think. And with that goes the performances. Performances in this were really, really good. Timothée Chalamet, or Timmy as he's known by his friends, I thought was really a great choice for Bob Dylan here as far as the look, getting the voice down, the singing. The singing, yes, was pretty good here. And obviously Bob Dylan, another thing that maybe doesn't directly appeal to me is his singing style isn't a style that, it's not very lyrical. It's kind of being authentic and it's being genuine stuff. I don't always go for that. But, for myself, I'm more like if I want to do folk, I'll do like Jim Croce or, what the hell's his other, the guy that did, Sundown and, Emma Fitzgerald, or whatever the hell the name of that song. That's more like when we get into the 70s and stuff. That's kind of more my style, which obviously Dylan helped influence and everything. And when we did get to the, How Does It Feel and some of those later songs that he did, when we get to those in the movie, I'm like, yeah, this is more like the stuff that I could get into if I wanted to look further into Dylan's discography and stuff. But yeah, that was good. Yeah, and then Ed Norton is also really, really good in this too. The singing, by the way, from all the major players, I was a little suspect when I was first watching it, and then I was like, well, I said, it doesn't sound too auto-tuned. I'm like, the Ed Norton stuff sounds good. We knew Timothée, that was definitely well in advance. We knew he was singing for real in the movie and stuff. It was just really Monica Barbaro and Hoyt Hallbrook who do some other songs, more so for Monica. But those two, I was like, I don't know if they're doing the real singing or not. And so I kind of looked into it afterwards. I'm like, oh, they are. And especially when we get to Monica, oh my god, I gotta praise the hell out of that performance. But anyways, but no, Ed Norton is still really good in this. He gets one really nice monologue in the last act, which kind of leads into that the whole set list and discussion and stuff. Really, really nice work from him. Nice supporting role, and yeah. So if he gets in, good. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. He's good in the movie. Monica Barbaro. This is the first thing I thought about. I'm like, this is a star-making role. She was definitely being in the Top Gun movie and Maverick, and being the one female pilot. Obviously, you kind of get highlighted for that. So she was kind of a break. That was kind of her breakout role. This could be the role that makes her a star, bona fide star. Absolutely great work with the singing and the guitar playing, which I believe she learned for the movie and stuff. Again, just doing a little background once I saw the movie, or after I saw the movie, rather. Holy shit, she's amazing in this, as far as that stuff goes. I did not know she had that in her. That's just absolutely blew me away. And even the scenes where she's not singing, the kind of more dramatic scenes, also really good. So I was like, I came out of the movie, I'm like, she's the MVP of the fucking movie, cast-wise. I thought she was phenomenal in this. Absolutely a star-making role, in my opinion, at least. She was excellent all the way through. As Dan Fogler in his supporting role, he was good too. Fun to pop up once in a while as his kind of stoogey type of manager. I'm okay with that kind of performance in the movie. I know some others will list that as like a big cliche and stuff, that like the manager doesn't know what the hell's going on and stuff. Here it feels authentic though, because Dylan, again, being this kind of enigma character, which he is through the majority of the movie, when he's not being like authentic with like the Scoot McNairy character, who's another famous musician who has gone through some major issues health-wise, which is off-screen, and we just kind of see him afterwards. That stuff, it's like, yeah, he feels like a real person there and stuff. And after that, he's kind of shifty and stuff. And again, I get that that's kind of the real-life Dylan. That's how he's come off and stuff. But again, I think the movie would fare a lot better, and I think I would have had a better reaction to it, and I would have liked it even more had it come down and been like that. But obviously, again, that's part of it. You don't want to shine too much light on someone who doesn't like the lights shown on them. And you got to be authentic to that to an extent. But I think back to like a movie like Vice, which is a little different because obviously that's a more lifelong retrospective film. This is only a little window. It's only 4 years of Dylan's life. But the Vice movie, for example, it does show kind of Dick Cheney's progression, even though, yes, he is a character in real life who hasn't had a lot of, biographies written about him. He's not someone that, a lot is widely known about him. In the movie, you still feel like you got to know him a lot. You got to know his family. You got to know that stuff. Here, there's maybe like a couple spare references to the fact that he's Jewish and how that might be impacting maybe one or two things about him. But it's like that really, there is just not much else that we can really get from him. And thus, again, I get it. The title of the movie is A Complete Unknown. I get it. But it's just, again, for myself, I can't help but feel a little detached from his story and from his triumph, if you will, at the end. It didn't feel like a triumph. I didn't feel like the movie kind of built up to a major point. I had that issue with Maestro as well. From last year. I like this better than Maestro, though. Maestro, I thought, was like, by the end, I just didn't care for it. This, I'm leaning more toward like a 7 out of 10. I think, again, the production design and set design and everything, getting the feel and the mood down for the early 60s in New York, I thought, splendid job on that. Monica Barbaro is outstanding. Edward Norton and Timothée Chalamet are both really, really good, and really giving some... for Timothée... not to breeze past him too much, but yeah, getting the vocals down, getting the voice down, and the mannerisms down, that was, I'm sure, a lot of work, and he did a good job with that. And the singing, yes, for him, is also pretty good. Better than the singing in Wonka. I'll give it that. Yes, so I really do think that his performance as Best Actor, yeah, it's one of the better ones I've seen this year, for sure. I wouldn't put it above like someone like a Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. He was really, really good. Otherwise, I really don't think... I haven't seen, like, Sing Sing. I haven't gotten to The Brutalist yet. The Apprentice is way down on my watch list, so I didn't see Heretic from the nominees here today, and I didn't even get a chance to see Queer either, so I really have not seen too many of these Best Actor contenders yet, but no, from the ones I've seen, yeah, I was like, yeah, Timothée makes sense to get in. But, yeah, I think, again, leaning towards a 7 out of 10. Not quite, closer to a 6 than an 8, if you will. If you're, like closer to, is it more of a 7.5 or like a 6.5 rounded up to a 7? I would say closer to that. But again, some stuff just, that's hard to get to in the movie because of the way it's set up. And I have to, again, say, if it was me directing the movie and stuff, which is not, again, I've tried to emphasize that before, I'm not trying to tell you how to make the movie, but if it was me doing it, I would have probably tried a couple different things here and there to try to, again, at least express in, like, the scenes with him where he's, like, trying to figure out a set list, like, have him say, like, have a character ask him, like, okay, if you go out there and play the folk music instead of the rock music, which you want to play with the electric stuff, like, what's, are you going to be able to sleep at night? Are you going to, what's the big deal? Like, what is the, is the world going to end for him if he is not able to play this other set list that he's kind of, fumigating on, he's kind of thinking about. And the other thing, too, especially, the runtime. I really did not think this needed to be a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. At an hour 50, I think this would have been perfect. I really think you could have cut a lot of fat off of this movie. A couple performances, a couple things here and there, I think really could have gone. Yeah, in particular, there's a very nice epilogue to the movie, which all those scenes with Scoot McNairy, I think, are nice to include. But like, there's a couple things with like the Bob Seger character, like his stuff. Really, there's like one scene that kind of goes on for a while where he's on this live television show. That stuff, it's like almost like probably 5-6 minutes out of the movie. That could have easily been cut. It really did not lend anything. It introduces one musician who pops up briefly later, and I don't think he even plays with Dylan or any of the other guys at one point. He's just kind of there. It's like, did we really need 6 minutes to introduce a background character in a later scene? That's really all those scene was good for, aside from showing that Seeger also had these TV affiliations and stuff. That could have been summed up in a line of dialogue, for Christ's sakes. That would have cut 6 minutes out of the runtime. And there's probably one or two other scenes like that where it's like, I don't know. There's one particular scene, though, where I think it's Blowin' in the Wind, where he and Monica Barbaro are kind of playing it in one of the apartment rooms or something. It's like that scene did feel like it really dragged, and it kind of went on a little long. But yeah, the pacing was a little off to me, too, in some of these parts. So that was also a criticism I had with the movie. But all right. Yes. So, okay, last thing we'll do here. Based off of how films did today, who do I lean on to win the categories and stuff? British film, it's got to be Conclave. It's the only one that repeated in the film category. It's kind of a, kind of a second place. It's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for is escaping me here, but it's a consolation prize. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a consolation prize for not being able possibly to win Best Film. They could go with The Brutalist. They could go in that category with maybe possibly even Anora. I would actually not be shocked. Or Amelia Perez. Probably one of those three would win that one. But yeah, we'll get to that later. For visual effects, it's probably Dune Part 2. That's one of the more extensive ones in this list. Gladiator 2 also has some extensive effects through the film and everything. But yeah, probably Dune Part 2 there. Sound, without Complete Unknown in there to kind of shake up the race. You're probably looking at it being a showdown between Wicked and Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2, I think, overall, even though it had... did they both end up with 7? Yeah, they both ended up with 7 nominations. I feel like Dune might get a little more love here overall from BAFTA as far as wins. So I would lean Dune in that category. Production design, it's probably a toss-up between The Brutalist and Wicked for me to win the category. The Brutalist, I know the movie's kind of about... architecture and stuff, so if BAFTA really does award it Best Film, I could see something like production design going along for the ride. For the score category, it's probably Conclave. We haven't seen really too many other winners here in this category yet, have we? And Challengers wasn't even nominated here today. If it's probably not Conclave, they could go Brutalist. I don't really think, even though Amelia Perez is the musical and stuff, I don't know. I'm not feeling it in that category, at least right now. Makeup and hairstyling. Amelia Perez, this is one spot. I had it in originally, and then I took it out because I originally had it getting 13, and I'm like, I don't think Amelia Perez is going to jump Conclave, so I had to take it out. But damn, it getting in there is important for my Oscar predictions too, because it's one I know not everyone has it in for makeup, but I thought it was after seeing the movie, I'm like, it's makeup, it's got to get in for that. So that really helped my confidence in that one. But For who's going to win the category, I know a lot of people like The Substance in that category at the Oscars. I might actually lean more toward Wicked here right now. I don't know. They could go with Dune Part 2 as well, though, if they really like the movie overall in these tech categories, and it does kind of a mini sweep, but we'll see. For editing, boy, I could see with The Brutalist out, they could go with Conclave here. I think Conclave is one they'll still really like here, so I'll pick Conclave for now. Costume design, I think Wicked almost, maybe not to itself, but that's one of the easier wins for Wicked, I think, of BAFTA there. For cinematography, I think The Brutalist is the favorite here to win. Dune Part 2, though, really great work on that one, too. I really like the cinematography in that. So probably I would pick Brutalist for now, though. Casting category is really hard to figure out, but I don't know. I don't think Kneecap outside of... Kneecap might upset in film, not in the English language. It might upset in that category over Emilia Perez, but... even now, I would still say Emilia Perez probably does win that category, though, especially since it has the film nomination, too. And it probably won't win any other, like, film category other than, if it does happen to win Best Film, maybe then. But we'll see. But, yeah, I think for myself, the casting category... I'll go with Conclave again, just as a placeholder for now. Animated feature is probably the Wild Robot. For now, yeah, that's my pick there. Adapted screenplay, I would say Conclave has that one pretty, not under lock and key, but it's a pretty big favorite there, I think. For original screenplay, let's see, Anora is definitely in the running there. They could give it to The Brutalist and line up screenplay and film. They have done that, not as often here at BAFTA, but once in a while they will do that. Otherwise, if they want to go with like original ideas and stuff, The Substance could actually play into that one as well. That one's going to be probably between those three, but maybe bigger nods toward Anora and The Brutalist there. For supporting actress, Zoe Saldana, I think with Emilia Perez getting the 2 nominations here and overall getting the 11 nominations, yeah, I think that helps her with this one. Ariana Grande, I don't think, even if she wins SAG, I don't see her going back and then winning BAFTA too. I don't think she'll get on that sweep mode by that point, so no, I think Zoe Saldana wins this one. Actor in a supporting role, I don't know if Kieran Culkin will win here. I think he can win everything else, but they might go Guy Pearce here. I would actually not be shocked if they go Guy Pearce here in supporting actor. In lead actress, I'm not sure how I feel about this one either. I think Carla Sofia Gascon is in the hunt to win. Mikey Madison is probably your early front runner. Demi Moore with the Big Globe win, though. On the lookout for that one. If Demi Moore starts racking up wins and it kind of builds momentum, maybe BAFTA goes along. They have halted some trains before. Like Ke Huy Quan won everything. I mean, almost every major critics prize that year. He won everything, and then the televised awards. But then here comes Barry Keoghan, or however you pronounce his last name, upsetting him in supporting actor at BAFTA, though. So, I don't know about that one. But probably Mikey Madison is the front runner for now. Best actor, probably Adrian Brody is still your front runner here. Ralph Fiennes, though, he's going to be close for Conclave. He's going to be close. I don't quite think they'll go with Timothée Chalamet here. Yeah, he's got a little bit of that slap the stud syndrome, if you've heard that phrase. It's, it's a deal where you're like, yeah, when you're young and you're a male actor, it's a lot harder to win a lot of these acting categories because it's like, oh, you're young, you've got time and stuff. It's usually the young ingenues; those are the ones they want to award right away, and they can award them, with best actress or best supporting actress and stuff. But with the guys, it's like, nope, you get the money, you get the fame, you get the women. The one thing you can't have is the Oscar. It's kind of that type of mentality. So he could surprise here at BAFTA since Complete Unknown did arguably overperform. But it's probably down to Adrian Brody and Ralph Fiennes, and even then I would give the edge to Adrian Brody. For Best Director, I would stick with Brady Corbett here. I think he's probably he's ahead of the other guys and Coralie as well, I think. And then for Best Film, probably I would lean toward The Brutalist today. Conclave, it'll have that consolation prize with Best British Film, so I don't think that one will quite repeat as well. Emilia Perez, I think, could also sneak up there and take it away, but I think The Brutalist is probably my early frontrunner here as well. Okay, so I got some thinking to do on some of these categories. Obviously, we have a little bit of time now between now and next Thursday. So I'm not sure if I'm going to jump on and we'll do any other videos in between now and, say, next Wednesday. If the Oscar nominations stick on that date, I hope to God they do. I really don't want this to get too elongated here. And, you know, they keep pushing it back, keep pushing it back, keep pushing it back. They got to figure out a plan if that's, you know, if the in-person presentation is just not still in the cards by that point. They got to get an alternate plan here. They got to just do it remotely as they did a few times and some of the other shows have done that, or just do the regular press release. I know it sucks. I know it's not as much fun for a lot of people to do the press release. You don't get the list, you know, name by name or film by film in the different categories. But I don't know. You got to get it done. You got to get a lot of these companies and stuff too, the production companies and the distributing companies and everyone involved, especially the actors too, and everyone else who's campaigning. They're kind of flying by the seat of their pants right now. So I know they've been, you know, a lot of these guys that were planning on only 2 more days of campaigning, or technically 1 more day of campaigning. Now they've had to plan for another, you know, for 2 more days, and now they've had to plan for another 4 days on top of that. It's like, and you know, you got to reschedule events. If you had in-person events during this whole last week or so when they started pushing everything back, they're going to be fed up with it too. So yeah. I really hope they stick with that 23rd date. And, yeah, for now, as long as they stick with that date, yeah, I mean, I'll be here. I'll be doing the live nomination reactions and stuff. But they gotta figure that stuff out. But, yep. All right, we're at an hour. I think that's a good enough stopping place. So we will be back sometime later. Again, we probably want to, I know we did the video a couple times ago where we talked about big Oscar questions and stuff. But, and again, I'll kind of re-examine those, and we might briefly touch on them before we do final predictions. But yep, we'll kind of play it by ear. Again, we've got PGA still to announce. Cinematographers Guild also has to announce. Those are kind of the last major pieces standing, though, of the major guilds, because like the Visual Effects Guild announced their nominees. Hair and Makeup announced theirs a while ago. The Production Design and Costume Design ones have announced theirs. Ace Eddie was a while ago. BAFTA's now done, so not too many left. And we will be back here at some point, and we'll keep talking about this stuff. Especially supporting actress. God help us all getting that supporting actress category right.